All right, let's jump right into this. The skinny me is the fat me. I'm skinny, but I eat a lot of food, so I might as well be fat. So let's jump into this, man. This is gonna be crazy. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know what I'm gonna think, but some of y'all might get offended.
There's a big difference between the people who are telling people go out and get fat versus a Lizzo who's saying accept me the way I am.
She's not just saying accept me the way I am. She's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying if you don't think that it's normal for a morbidly obese person to be wearing a G-string in the middle of public, then you're the problem.
Kind of makes sense.
Being fat or skinny is a choice. Agreeers?
Being fat or skinny is a choice. Agreeers. Okay.
Of course, not every factor is purely choice. I don't think that every factor is, but I do think a majority of it is. And in most cases, for most people, being skinny or being fat is about willpower. It's about the environment you grow up in, sure,
fat as hell,
but
though.
who you choose to associate with, what sort of things you choose to listen to, who you choose to kind of have as your friends around you and support you. All of those things are choices that you can make that will lead you closer towards being one or the other.
I know what I do with my body. I know what I put into it a day in.
I mean, I honestly, I don't understand what these niggas keep talking about in the sense that, like, why you hang around with other niggas that are fat, dude? Being fat is disgusting, dude. But same with being skinny, too. You don't have to be a scrawny little nigga, bro. You can beef up, too. And get swole, too. So, you know what I mean? So they're both, in a sense, right. It is a choice to be fat and it is a choice to be skinny. You're choosing in what state to put your body in. Let's see what Lauren has to say about it.
Get buff, don't go to the gym, you won't get buff. I understand that there's genetics that could cause you to want to eat more, but even with the genetics that cause you to want to eat more, the same solution is calories in, calories out.
I think the whole choice is, always determined on who they are. And it's not going to just be a thing done overnight.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of, I think it's like breaking the barrier and breaking a lot of things, not only your body, but also breaking your mental state.
Sure.
And again, that depends on who you are and what you want to go through.
Disagreeers?
That bitch in the back has a fucking cane, dude. That's how fucking fat she is. What the fuck?
I grew up in a very poor home, so where my mom.
Oh, boo hoo hoo. Shut the fuck up, man.
And we would get free meals. Even then, it would be canned food, and it would be very much food that's not as edible. It was food for us, yes, but then I felt like once.
Canned food is edible. You can make a smacking Thanksgiving meal with canned food, bitch.
I wasn't eating, and I was only eating grapes and lettuce, and that was mainly because I was in a sport, and that sport just worked me out so hard. And it was to the point where I just was scared to eat. I didn't.
Somebody should tell this bitch to go back to that sport.
For eating grapes and lettuce, were you thin?
I was the thinnest I could be.
Were you still big though?
I was still big, but that was the skinniest I've ever been. And that's coming from somebody who was only eating somewhat salads that are just fruit and lettuce and water and maybe ice right before a practice.
That is a salad. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Becoming a thin woman.
I possibly would be capable of becoming a thin woman, but since I was young, I was supposed to get blood tested probably when I was very, very young, and I never did. And they had mentioned that it could have been because of my weight. And
someone cue the fucking violins, man.
I never made the connection, and I never had that leaning parent to be go and get checked out, go and do this, your weight is probably not your fault. It was always your weight is your fault, so that's your issue.
I mean, I also struggle with, thyroid and my own blood issues. I'm not quite sure, but I do see an endocrinologist and I go see a doctor. It's a choice to do the requisite steps. It's a choice to go grocery shopping instead of going to fast food when it's easy. It's a choice when you're grocery shopping to go to the outer aisles and not go into the bread section and not go into the junk food section. These are all choices.
As a disabled woman, I can't do a lot of the things that.
Oh, so she's disabled. That's why she's got the cane. Well, fuck me, dude. Oui, chef. Ça va, chef? Hein? Bonsoir, chef, ça va? Hein? Ah, je travaille.
To learn, okay, am I going to be so hateful of my own body that I am going to backlash and put myself through extreme gym nights, through keeping myself from eating things that I should be able to eat? You should be able to have.
Well, she shouldn't be eating, she shouldn't be eating in the sense of, like, fucking up her disability. Like, that's for sure, dude.
But I don't think skinny people
Not
go
all
into
people.
this junk food aisle.
They
I think
certainly do.
They do.
They eat a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
Bitch, what are you talking about? I eat junk food on the daily, dude.
I would tell you otherwise. Like,
There's a thing called set points. There's a ton of research on it that your body likes to be at specific weights. It likes to be in a specific way. So if you are fighting yourself
Cap.
by not eating, over exercising, and you are damn near killing yourself to be at a specific weight, your body's unhappy.
It's important to note that a choice can be harder for people to make due to conditions in their life.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. I could say that I had food addiction. I looked to food when I was stressed and this and that and this. And so it's harder for me to choose it than for someone who has like the perfect lifestyle, someone who has parents.
All I'm hearing from all these fat niggas is like they can't control their fucking intake, dude. It doesn't, like, dude, obviously this shorty who's talking about she only eating grapes, she's capping, bro. There's no way you're gonna eat nothing but grapes and then be, like, still fat. Doesn't make any sense, bro. You guys are capping so hard, bro.
And how is this helping?
Well,
If you find it,
that
if you
forward.
What is this about? I didn't hear the last part, sorry, I kind of skipped over it.
I think there's a lot of different struggles when it comes to being a bit bigger. And I have a sister that is very, like, she's 400 pounds and she struggles a lot. She has lymphedema. To shower is really, really hard. So I do think for like an overall happy life and like zero struggle, I think I'd rather be skinny.
I think that it is common in society to want to be skinny. I think the average person typically wants to be skinny.
I'm telling you right now, ain't nobody want to be fat, bro. You're carrying around so much extra fucking joules, extra kilos on you. You don't want to be fat. I swear to God, y'all niggas don't want to be fat or fat, bro. It's a lie.
Life expectancy is longer. You tend to be healthier.
I'm also really tall. I'm 6'6", so I kind of wish I could just pick a single struggle because finding the clothes and things like that when you're bigger both ways can make it really hard. So if I was skinnier, at least that's one less thing I have to worry about. But also,
because he's so fat, he doesn't even seem like he's 6'6", bro. What the fuck?
And as you pointed out, I definitely think that I'm at less health risks if I'm a skinnier person, if I'm a healthier person in that capacity. And I would much rather be that so that I could be around for my kids longer.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
What are you guys gonna disagree in the sense of, man? You guys
I'm
are
speaking
absolutely
as someone
trolls.
who actually was a former smaller person, and I had the most body insecurities when I was small. I was constantly living in fear of gaining weight and having people tell me, oh, don't gain weight, don't do this, make sure that your weight is the same. And once I finally gained weight, I realized that, first off, life wasn't over. I didn't feel any need to not.
Your life will soon be over, man. The heart attack is coming. It's coming.
Got was different, but even as a smaller person, you get negative attention. And rather than trying to control my body to avoid that negative attention, I would prefer to address the situation as a society, make it more accessible for everybody to where we aren't feeling like I have to be a certain way that's normal in order to be treated like a human being and respected.
If I could counter, because I was a bit bigger when I was younger, and that's when I was the most insecure. I would look in the mirror. I did have family members that were skinny, but then I had a family member that was much bigger. And just the way that I perceived myself, I hated it, and I even became anorexic to like not be big.
I don't think skinny always equates to being healthy.
Exactly.
That's true.
I'm fairly skinny. I'm 6'5". I'm 140 pounds last time I checked, and I'm severely underweight. And I know about this on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I don't know where I'd want to lean at an appropriate weight level, but I think it's important to understand for some skinny people, we're not living a great life by any means. And sometimes I feel like that's always kind of lost in translation when they see someone who's really skinny.
I guess it depends on what you mean when you think of the term skinny. Are you thinking of just like an average weight person, or are you thinking of how you are now?
I'm the average weight for like women in America.
I like-
So
like that's
if we're talking about an average,
That's fucking disgusting.
be the closest. If your biggest priority,
This is the average woman in America. Dude, look at this shawty right here, bro. What is this fupa shit that she's got? This is absolutely revolting, dude. It's absolutely revolting. Like, America is on a fucking decline. It's disgusting, dude.
Research has a huge fat phobic bias in it, and there has been research that shows that they aren't, even especially during, let's say, COVID and the correlation between obesity. They rushed through those studies so fast because in society's mind, oh, of course a fat person is going to equal someone who's going to get sick faster, is going to get sick easier. It was an easy jump. So they didn't do all of the testing that they were supposed to do. They didn't check their bias.
So
They
if
didn't
by
check.
saying the study is
Right.
biased, you're
Right.
saying that the
Right.
study didn't account for the variable that obesity may also take a factor into. It's just that there's so many variables in humanity that these pharmaceutical companies could only account for so many during their trials. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're biased. However, you want to talk about bias in studies, actually recently we've been doing the opposite. So for instance, a lot of our studies have been based on BMI, and so we've been showing that, oh, fat people aren't necessarily extremely unhealthy if we look at people with a certain BMI. However, bodybuilders also have a really high BMI, and so they get counted into that category, and so it wasn't until very recently that they
I like this bitch Lauren, man. She's bringing the facts.
and it shows, oh my goodness, being fat is actually extremely unhealthy, like way more unhealthy than we ever realized.
You can't gauge health by looking at somebody.
Yeah.
Like, none of my health issues, all of them precipitated my weight gain. But I always get assumed, oh, don't you want to be skinny so that you don't have a cane anymore and you don't feel the way you feel? And it's like, no, because I have lupus and I'm always going to feel like this.
It's gonna happen
Like,
no
I
matter
see her.
Oh shit, situation is unfolding. Then the bitch got lupus.
An obesity problem.
America has an obesity problem. That's a fact, dude. What are you talking about? What the average reaches 180 pounds or 70 pounds? That's a problem.
It's pretty
dude.
clear. You look at the weight of the average American, you see how obesity has affected not just children. I mean, the fact that we have more younger and younger people who are looking heavier and heavier, and you see that, like, you know, the way that weight affects.
Most of these children weigh twice as much as me, dude. It's disgusting.
That we should always, you know, we shouldn't compare ourselves to the era of the Great Depression when people just couldn't find food, of course. But people are heavier now in an unhealthy way, and people are eating unhealthy. They are eating it through unhealthy access to food. They're eating diets high in seed oils. They're eating high corn syrup. They're doing all this kind of stuff that's not good for them that we didn't used to do, and it's bad. It's not a good thing. It's an epidemic. It needs to be quashed in some capacity.
There's so much access to just
I like how you said the name Quash, but he's absolutely right. A lot of the foods in America is all carcinogenic causing foods. A lot of it is heavy fats, heavy proteins and meats and things. They aren't eating a balanced diet for the most part. A lot of these people in America, dude.
it's like on the same street. And it's just like, we don't think that this is adding to the problem.
What I think is really sad about that is so many people in America just see the profit in it. I don't want to say I know that these people know the problem, but it's like, how can you not see the problem? They have to see it and just not care. They have to just be like, well, we're gaining profit. Do you see how much this McDonald's is making? Put another one across the street. Like, that's just like
It's not
how
even
it
just
is.
the corporations, it's the
Yeah.
medical industry. Having a fat country makes us money.
It doesn't help that our cities aren't walkable either.
Yeah,
America is a country of non-walkable cities.
That is why I wavered a little bit, because I think we have a problem with how to.
It's also by design. This is the only point where I can agree with every single last one of them, bro. The way America is set up is by design to keep people in general fat, lazy, and gross and disgusting, dude. So people can fully take advantage of them. Medical, food, every aspect to take advantage of a person, they take advantage of them. So it's true.
They're encouraging it with media. So
And the mukbangs, I was literally gonna bring that up. The mukbangs and like all those videos that just come up to
it's
trends for people
not
to do
only
it as
the
well.
mukbangs, but also like Lizzo and other big.
You gotta have a strong mind. A strong mind, dude, and willpower to overcome all these things.
Out and get fat versus a
I love
Lizzo
myself
who's saying,
fat.
accept me
Yeah.
the way I am.
She's not just saying accept me the way I am. She's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying if you don't think that it's normal for a morbidly obese person to be wearing.
But that's the thing too, you gotta understand is that a lot of these people in the media, they're psyops, bro. They're all there to divert your attention and keep you distracted, dude. Because at the end of the day, they don't want you to be the best version of yourself because they can't make money off the best version of yourself, man.
I'm obese and I haven't even heard that.
Well, obesity is already normal, so
Well, I don't think it should be normalized, and it wasn't normal.
But
just a couple
what's the
decades
difference
ago.
between a obese person, myself, walking around in a G-string or a bathing suit, as I do almost every day, and
Yuck.
like, is it okay that the skinny person is doing that?
Yes.
So, but
I don't think
that's for other reasons.
I get the whole public thing.
to say that when Lizzo does it is the same as a Victoria's Secret angel is just not the same.
Yeah, what's the
'Cause
difference?
What are you talking about? What's the difference, dude? It's visuals.
They look the same.
Well,
but
I
I'm
mean,
saying
Lizzo
what's
goes on
what's the
stage.
implication? So if I walk down the street, I'm a runway model. I'm a print and runway model.
El Cap!
That is shameful, but a skinny model is
like a
okay.
Victoria's Secret
I
model.
didn't. I don't know if I use the phrase shameful,
Problematic.
but I don't think that we as a society should be modeling obesity.
But I'm not modeling obesity. I'm modeling the lingerie that obese people need to be able to.
No, you're part of the problem, dude. You're kind of showing off and saying, I'm beautiful in this thing. You don't have to lose weight. You can be beautiful as a fat person and wear the lingerie. In a sense, you're aiding the problem, bro.
Special for like $5 to like $20 and stuff.
well, it
and
does
it's
take
like
more
it's-
fabric to make it.
It does take more fabric to
They
make
use
it,
that
but
as
it's-
an excuse, but
that
you
would-
make
No, it's not. That is the thing. What are you talking about, dude?
A large or a
It-
large?
it is.
And
yeah,
we're willing-
for 3XL shirts, I got to pay more money.
I think people view models and Instagram people and all of us who are plus size and proud as,
You shouldn't be proud of having diabetes, bro.
oh, I'm pushing the fact that this is what I live in. This is my life. And I need other people who feel this way to say, hey, I want to be able to wear clothes that look cute too.
Ow.
I do think there's a problem with obesity in America, but I think it's a first world country problem because it's spread across the globe. And also, I don't see it as a problem. I do feel like health-wise, people should try to be healthier, but there's no perfect body. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect size. And there's people who are underweight. There's a lot of them. And then there's a lot of people who are overweight. So I really don't see it as like a problem. But just to touch on
Oh, it's a fucking problem, dude.
in the fashion industry, I wanted to become a fashion designer. My dad was one. And they buy 10 rolls of fabric for one price. So it really doesn't cost that much to make underwear.
Sure, but don't you also have to worry about distribution? I mean, if the average person is, let's say, in between small, medium, large, and you're sending clothes out for those, you know you could send out 10,000 of this, 10,000 of that, 10,000 of that. You can't always send out 10,000 3XLs because you're not going to have that many people fitting in the 3XL.
No, because there's somebody who works in marketing and they research that area. There's a census. So we have a database of what type of people are there. Now, we don't know who's going in there, but we know the type of people that live in that area.
That's interesting. I never knew that, actually. Well, I mean, it would make sense in terms of like shipping and logistics. You don't want to overship product, dude. That's the problem with inventory, right? You got to have the numbers.
Brought up the food desert earlier. I can't even think of an area that would have a so-called food desert.
Sorry, can someone explain, like maybe just for
Mosquitoes.
my ignorance, I'm guessing a food desert is just there's no food anywhere?
No, it's healthy options for food. So you can go into certain low-income areas
A food
and you'll
desert.
see a Starbucks, a McDonald's,
But that's by design, once again, dude.
Trader Joe's.
A food desert, actually properly, there isn't any, like for a long period of driving, there's
Distance.
one gas station and a liquor store. Then you have to drive 2 more miles to hit the next grocery store.
But with the food desert, it's not just that there can be a grocery store there, but if I'm making minimum wage, I'm not gonna spend all of my money on what is gonna last me 2 meals versus what's going to last me an entire week.
Yes.
Or if I'm
If-
on EBT
Yeah.
and I have specific things that I have to choose to buy versus what I can't buy.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Colorado. In the outskirts, there's so many small towns that you don't even know that they're there. Most of them you won't see on a map, but if you're from there, then you'll know, and they all have to drive a decent amount to be able to go to an actual grocery store.
But how often are you going grocery shopping? Maybe like once every 2 weeks would be typically normal. So you have to do a drive
My
once
family, I gotta
every.
go once a week.
So you're making a drive once a week, once every 2 weeks.
This is
Not a
also
lot of people
saying
have
drive.
access to the
Yeah, like what
time.
if I don't have a car?
I was like, I don't
I don't even
and if
drive.
you don't have, usually these food deserts also have very poor public transportation options.
Yep,
So
like in the
you are
mountains.
left with people who are stranded.
Yeah, but then what are they eating at all?
Yeah.
Unhealthy crap.
Like,
No, but
what-
how are they
what-
surviving
what,
at
they're going
all?
through the drive-through? They don't got a car to go to the
Yeah,
drive-through. How are
exactly.
They usually, what I've seen when I go to those rural towns and those rural places is they have chickens and they have animals.
Right.
And guess what? That's you can get some healthy
Healthy.
food out of that. That's
That
like, you know,
sounds healthy.
having eggs and protein and things like that. I think I would be healthier if I lived rurally. In fact, my wife and I are trying to leave the state so we're not near all the Uber Eats and all the
I grew,
all
up
that
in
stuff.
I grew up in a town of 500. The obesity problem there was not as significant as, say, in LA. And we talk about like food deserts and stuff. The nearest Walmart where I grew up was 45 minutes in any direction. The nearest McDonald's was nowhere near to be seen for a long time. So when I hear these, like, and there could be some evidence there as like the obesity problem is very low lift.
Were there grocery stores in your small town?
Yes.
Exactly.
Like I'm like kind of baffled by this idea.
Thank you.
Maybe I
me
just
too.
need to go out there and like experience the food deserts, but like there was grocery stores where I grew up. Just because we lived in the middle of nowhere doesn't mean we didn't have access to food. And actually, and I have to agree, we did have access to healthy food. Very healthy food all the time. I don't think this is big of an issue in my personal opinion.
Fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming.
Nah, as a skinny person, I don't know. It's not like being. I'm not too sure how I feel about this, but I'm excited to see their
Worse
opinions.
than skinny shaming. Just overall, entirely the way that people like comment on people's weight compared to somebody skinny, they usually don't comment on somebody skinny. They don't think there's something wrong with them. They don't, like, they'll maybe say like, oh, you're very thin, do you want to eat a cheeseburger? But that's not as bad as telling somebody you eat 10, stop. And you don't even know that they're eating 10.
Fat shaming is a systemic problem. You're not gonna not get a job because you're too skinny. Skinny bodies are praised in our society, whereas fat bodies, like, I don't get it as often as other people, but I get a lot of comments on my Instagram that are saying like, you're really beautiful, but you would look a lot better if you lost 50, 60 pounds.
Because that's the truth, though.
Something that I always get a lot of comments on is
This bitch with the cane is fucking killing me, dude.
how skinny I am. It's always something that I've always kind of dealt with. My favorite comment is always, I look like a sickly, ill Victorian child. And
That's horrible.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that.
no, I don't
It's hilarious.
as much, but this idea that skinny people can't also get these kind of comments are just kind of mind-blowing. That doesn't mean that they're, that one side is getting it worse than the other. I think that there are both sides getting piled on, just at different varying degrees.
I think we're conflating two things as well. So there's a difference between fat shaming and fat discrimination. Fat shaming is an aspect of fat discrimination, but some of the things you were touching on are specifically societal and
What are
systemic
you
fat
niggas
discrimination that
what
goes
is this
into our
shawty
medical
yapping
system,
about,
it
dude?
goes into employment, it goes into all of our civil rights. As fat people, that skinny people don't necessarily have that same issue. And I come from cultures where they straight out called out skinny people. Oh, you look like bones, oh flaca, all of that. So I watched my cousins go through it. I went through it when I would get too skinny. As people, we are just too scrutinized when it comes to our bodies. We don't let people live.
But I think that's a good point. You said you
That is pretty true. I can't lie.
when you got
Not
to
my cousin.
but your cousin. So people using shame as a motivator to get your cousin to not be too skinny. Shame as a motivator is a powerful tool. So the reason I sit over there is
That's true.
worse than skinny shaming. Well, you could argue that shaming somebody in order to motivate them towards a healthy lifestyle is actually a good thing. Now, I have a lot of empathy because hearing your story about how you've been struggling.
I don't know how much more of this video I can take, but I will say this. Whether you are skinny or whether you're fat or whether you're somebody who's in the gym constantly all the time, everything needs to be done in moderation, right? Somebody in the gym could be somebody who's constantly in the gym all the time because they in themselves are at the extreme point of being insecure. And so now they're constantly in the gym trying to reach a sense of perfection that doesn't exist. And on the other spectrum, you have somebody who's constantly being shamed for being skinny can now be somebody who in the end can be fearful of gaining weight, and then they can push themselves to anorexia. And then somebody who's fat is somebody who, I guess, has no sense of control, or they're addicted to food. That's the only thing I could say is they're addicted to food, and so then they're pushing that extreme to the full of that extreme, right? They're just constantly eating to a point where they can't control their consumption of food. So like either of the three metrics that you're looking at, there's a pros and cons to each and every single last one of them. There's not like one saying that one is better than the other. It's like you could have somebody who's super fit, but you find out that they're just addicted to going to the gym, addicted to proteins, addicted to the pre-workouts, addicted, like they have this like body dysmorphia that is just out of hand. So there's no real like place that you can realistically say and say, oh, this is the best place to be in, this is the best body type. No. Everybody has a choice in what they're doing, and whatever that you're doing, you need to make sure that you're doing it to a level that is that's healthy and moderate and makes sense. You don't want to go to any extreme. You want to be somewhere that makes sense for you. Whether you're overtraining, undereating, overeating, there's a limit, and you need to respect it for yourself. Do better. Choice.